Welcome back to AM Northwest. Her work was integral to discovering the double helix structure of DNA, and her research on RNA paved the way for antiviral vaccines. Yet she never got the recognition of her male counterparts. Here to share a little about Rosalind Franklin, we welcome the author of The English Chemist, Jessica Mills. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Helen. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. First of all, why write a book about Rosalind Franklin?
I was actually thinking about writing a non-fiction book, which would essentially explore the narratives of a few women whose work was credited to men at that time. So, for example, Jocelyn Bell Burnell, who discovered pulsars as well. I was quite interested in her story. But Rosalind Franklin's story really struck a chord with me, particularly because I was 37 at the time and learnt, of course, that she was 37 when she died. So her story really struck a chord with me. And not only that, I felt at the time that it was one of the best evidenced examples of the Matilda effect that was known about to some degree in history, but I don't think it was quite as well known as it has been since her centenary, the centenary of her birth, which came a couple of years later in 2020. The other thing which really struck me about her story was I was really angry on her behalf, not because specifically of the historical content that had been written about her, such as, for example, some of the sexist comments that a lot of people may have heard about by her contemporary at the time, James Watson, who, of course, shared a Nobel Prize for the double helix theory, but also by a lot of the language that was used in the modern day to describe her by academics and even reporters alike. It seemed that there was still a persistent, pervasive narrative, which was that she hadn't been credited because due to some sort of failure of character. So I often would read things about her being described as combative or difficult or possessive over her findings or difficult to work with. And often there was the sort of subtle implication that these were the reasons why she hadn't actually shared a Nobel Prize for the double helix theory, which you know, it's more complicated than that.
Often smart women are described as difficult, so we know that's history for sure. You worked with Oregon State University and did some research with them. Tell me about that.
Oh yes, of course. So I have been to Oregon once, I should add. So that was a long time ago. I visited Portland and absolutely loved it. It reminded me of England actually in so many ways.
Oh sure.
I think the restrictions on the building heights and also the sales tax, the lack of sales tax is very different from England, but that's one of the things I absolutely love because I think I had the best breakfast anywhere. But sadly, I did not get to collaborate in person with the Oregon State University Special Collections Archive, and yet they were incredibly helpful. And I'm so grateful to the archivists there for their help in sharing letters with me, for example, which I had not come across before from...
And did they share with you photo 51? Tell me about that.
Yes, of course. So, this is interesting. So you can see from that photograph that this is photograph 51, and it's pretty easy to identify this one, not just because of the Maltese cross, which is now infamous, which is the essentially illustrative to some degree of the fact that we're looking at a spiral shape in an X-ray photograph. But also there's quite a telling little difference between this photograph and some of the others that were taken by Rosalind Franklin and Raymond Gosling. And that is that if you look very closely at the center of the cross, it's slightly off center. And that's how I know that I would, with some confidence, that is photo 51. So yes, photo 51 now is fairly well known for being, it's known as the often talked about as being either, quite wrongly, the first photograph ever taken of DNA or the first photograph ever taken of DNA structure, neither of which are true. But what it is it's some of the earliest, best evidence of the structure of DNA being a two-chain helix, so a spiral shape with 2 chains, as we know, is of course correct today.
There is so much to talk about. She was an incredible woman, extremely smart, did not get the recognition she deserved. The book, again, is titled The English Chemist. Thank you so much. It was great talking with you.
Thank you so much, Helen.
You bet.
Lovely to talk to you.
We'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.